Stand at the entrance of Universal Studios Hollywood on any given Tuesday in February. Watch the iconic spinning globe. Listen to the triumphant music. See the families posing for photographs, believing they're about to step into magic. Now look closer. Count the people. Really count them. Notice the empty spaces where crowds should be. See how the merchandise stores have more employees than customers. Watch the tram tour depart with rows of vacant seats. This is Universal Studios Hollywood in 2025. A theme park that just suffered the biggest attendance collapse of any major park in North America. A destination that lost nearly 10% of its visitors in a single year. A Hollywood institution that's bleeding guests while pretending everything is fine. The numbers don't lie. In 2024, Universal Studios Hollywood dropped from 9.7 million visitors to 8.7 million. That's 1 million people who simply stopped coming. 1 million families who chose to go somewhere else. 1 million tickets that were never purchased. 1 million screams of joy that never echoed through the park. And the worst part, this collapse happened right after Universal's biggest investment in a decade. They built Super Nintendo World. They brought Mario and Luigi to California. They created what was supposed to be the future of theme parks, and it didn't work. The bounce lasted exactly 1 year. Then it vanished. Like a power-up that ran out of time. So what's really happening behind the spinning globe? Why is the entertainment capital of LA becoming the empty capital of broken promises? The answer starts over a century ago, with a man who just wanted to sell more lunches. In 1915, a showman named Carl Lammle did something no one had ever done before. He opened the doors of his movie studio to the public. For 25 cents, anyone could sit in the bleachers and watch silent films being made. They could cheer for the heroes, boo the villains, witness the magic of cinema being created in real time. It was revolutionary. The public had never seen the inside of a working studio. Hollywood was a mystery, and Lamb was selling the solution. But here's what most people don't know. The whole thing started because of lunch. In the early 1960s, Universal's executives noticed something strange. When tour buses drove through the studio lot and stopped at the commissary, lunch sales would spike. Tourists were hungry. And hungry tourists spend money. So in 1964, a young executive named Jay Stein asked a simple question. What if we ran the tours ourselves? They invested $4 million. They built candy-striped They created a 2-hour experience that took guests behind the scenes of Hollywood's most famous studio. The price, $2.50. On July 15, 1964, the modern studio tour was born, and with it, Universal Studios Hollywood as we know it today. But those early years were rough. The first test run broke down in the middle of the backlot, forcing Universal's secretaries to walk back to their offices. The trams only ran 5 times a day. The attractions were modest. Costume exhibits, makeup demonstrations, a stop at the commissary for that all-important lunch. Then something changed the entire industry. In 1975, a young director named Steven Spielberg released a film about a killer shark. It was called Jaws, and it became the first true blockbuster. Universal brought the shark to the studio tour. They built a recreation that would terrify guests as they passed by, and suddenly, people weren't just watching movies being made. They were experiencing them. The studio tour transformed from a backstage pass into an adventure. Flash floods, collapsing bridges, earthquakes. The line between audience and action began to blur. Over the next 4 decades, Universal Studios Hollywood would become a laboratory for theme park innovation. King Kong, Back to the Future, Jurassic Park, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. More than 200 million guests have taken the studio tour since 1964. But now, 60 years later, that number is shrinking. The laboratory that invented the modern theme park experience is watching its visitors disappear, and the experiment that was supposed to save it. It made everything worse. February 17th, 2023. The day Super Nintendo World opened was supposed to change everything. Universal had spent years building this land. They partnered directly with Nintendo's legendary creator, Shigeru Miyamoto. They created an experience that would finally compete with Disney's Galaxy's Edge. And for 1 year, it worked. In 2023, Universal Studios Hollywood reached an all-time attendance high of 9.7 million visitors, a 15% increase. the biggest jump in the park's recent history. Mario and Luigi had delivered exactly what they promised. The land itself was remarkable. Guests walked through a green pipe and emerged into the Mushroom Kingdom. Coins spun overhead. Question blocks waited to be punched. Bowser's castle loomed in the distance. Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge became the headlining attraction. Guests wore AR headsets and raced through iconic video game courses. So why did it all collapse? The problems started becoming clear almost immediately. First, the space. Super Nintendo World is small, remarkably small. Some visitors compared it to the size of a Best Buy. Within 90 minutes of opening, the land would become a traffic jam. Wall-to-wall people. No room to breathe. Second, the pay. To experience the best parts of Super Nintendo World, you need a power-up band. That costs $40 per person, on top of admission, on top of parking. For families already spending hundreds, another $40 felt like extortion. Third, the attraction itself. Mario Kart was technically impressive, but the AR elements were confusing. The game mechanics were unclear. Reviews called it underwhelming, disappointing. Guests who waited 2 hours expected more than a 4-minute ride they didn't understand. Fourth, the repeat value. Once you've seen Super Nintendo World, once you've ridden Mario Kart, once you've punched the question blocks, what's left? The TripAdvisor reviews tell the story. Overhyped. A money grab at every turn. Not worth a special visit. We finished all the activities in 3 hours. 3 hours in a land that was supposed to save an entire theme park. By 2024, the bounce was gone. Attendance dropped 9.9%, the biggest loser among the top 20 North American parks. Super Nintendo World didn't fail because it was bad. It failed because it wasn't enough. Let's talk about money. A single-day ticket to Universal Studios Hollywood in 2025 can cost up to $329. That's for a peak day with Express Pass included. Without Express, still up to $200 on the busiest days. For a family of 4, a day at Universal can easily exceed $1,000 just for admission and parking. Add food. Add souvenirs. Add the power-up bands. Add the VIP experience if you want to actually experience the park without waiting in 3-hour lines. A family could spend $2,000 for a single day. Here's the problem. Universal Studios Hollywood is not a $2,000 park. It's small. Genuinely small. The upper lot and lower lot combined offer maybe a dozen major attractions. On a crowded day, you might experience 5 or 6 of them. The rest of your time will be spent waiting, walking, standing in the California sun, wondering why you drove 3 hours for this. The Express Pass was supposed to solve the waiting problem. But even that has limits. It doesn't work on Mario Kart. It doesn't work on the most popular attractions when you need it most. And it costs up to $200 extra per person. So you have 2 choices. Pay $200 and wait in long lines, or pay $400 and still wait in some lines. Meanwhile, Disneyland is 30 miles south. Magic Mountain has 20 roller coasters for half the price. Knott's Berry Farm offers nostalgia without the premium. Universal Studios Hollywood is competing against a stacked deck, and it's charging the highest prices while offering the least value. When your park costs more than a flight to Orlando, where Epic Universe just opened as the most anticipated theme park in decades. Why would anyone stay in Hollywood? Universal knows this. That's why they've been offering discounts. Second day free promotions. California resident specials. Desperate attempts to fill empty trams. But discounts don't fix the fundamental problem. Universal Studios Hollywood is charging 2025 prices for a 2005 experience. January 8th, 2025. The Santa Ana winds came first. Gusts up to 100 miles per hour. The driest start to a rainy season on record. And then the fires. The Palisades fire. The Eaton fire. The Hearst fire. Multiple blazes tearing through Los Angeles County simultaneously. Universal Studios Hollywood found itself positioned almost exactly between 2 and 10 miles from the nearest evacuation zone. Smoke thick enough to choke. For the first time in years, the park closed completely. January 8th. January 9th. The famous studio tour sat silent. The spinning globe stopped. When Universal reopened on January 10th, the air quality index registered 159. Officially unhealthy, the park handed out N95 masks to employees, but the damage extended far beyond those 2 days. The fires dominated headlines for weeks, images of Pacific Palisades burning. Celebrity homes destroyed, entire neighborhoods reduced to ash. Tourism to Los Angeles collapsed. International visitors canceled trips. Domestic travelers chose other destinations. Comcast specifically cited the Hollywood wildfires as a contributing factor to declining attendance in their Q1 2025 earnings report. Revenue dropped 5.2%. And this wasn't the first time fire threatened Universal. In 2008, a backlot fire destroyed iconic sets. Okay, and somewhere between 118,000 and 175,000 audio master tapes from Universal Music Group. Fire is woven into Universal's history, and as climate change intensifies, that vulnerability will only increase. Look at a map of Southern California theme parks. Disneyland Resort is 30 miles south. 2 parks, 3 hotels. Downtown Disney, the most visited theme park destination in the western United States. Knott's Berry Farm is in Buena Park, America's first theme park. Cheaper admission, a devoted local following. Six Flags Magic Mountain is in Valencia. 20 roller coasters. Half the price of Universal. And now, there's Epic Universe. On May 22nd, 2025, Universal Orlando opened the most anticipated theme park in America. 5 immersive worlds. Groundbreaking attractions. The first major new theme park from a major company since 2001. Epic Universe is everything Universal Studios Hollywood isn't. Massive. New. The future of themed entertainment, and it's 3,000 miles away. Universal's problem is existential. Their flagship California park is small, aging, and expensive. Their flagship Florida destination just became exponentially more attractive. Every marketing dollar spent promoting Universal drives people to Orlando, not Hollywood. Meanwhile, Disneyland keeps evolving. Galaxy's Edge, Avengers Campus. The upcoming Avatar experience. Disney is investing billions in their California parks. Universal Studios Hollywood. They're getting 1 roller coaster. Opening in 2026. In 2024, Disneyland and Disney California Adventure both grew by 0.5%. Stable, consistent. Universal Studios Hollywood dropped 9.9%. The biggest loser in the region. When the competition is winning this decisively, no amount of discounts can save you. Universal's answer to its attendance crises has a name. Fast and Furious. Hollywood Drift. It's the park's first ever high-speed outdoor roller coaster. It will reach 72 miles per hour, the fastest coaster in the entire Universal portfolio worldwide. It will feature 360-degree spinning vehicles designed to simulate drifting, and it won't open until 2026. The track wins 4,100 feet across the hillside. Test runs began in late 2025. On paper, it sounds impressive, but here's the gamble. Fast and Furious. Hollywood Drift is themed to a film franchise that peaked years ago. The original film came out in 2001. The series is aging. The audience is aging. Universal already tried Fast and Furious at this park once. Fast and Furious Supercharged opened as part of the studio tour in 2015. It was poorly received. Guests called it cheesy, dated. The worst part of the tour, it closed permanently in March 2025. So Universal is betting their future on a franchise that already failed once at this exact location. Disney's most successful recent attractions aren't based on aging franchises. Galaxy's Edge taps into Star Wars. Avengers Campus rides. The Marvel Wave, Rise of the Resistance, is considered one of the greatest theme park attractions ever built. Fast and Furious. Hollywood Drift is a roller coaster. A very fast, very expensive roller coaster. But Magic Mountain, already has 20 coasters. They're adding more, and they charge half the price. The question isn't whether Hollywood Drift will be good. It might be excellent. The question is whether excellence can overcome everything else. Universal Studios Hollywood carries a unique burden. It's not just a theme park. It's a working studio. Films and television shows are produced here every day. The backlot isn't just a tourist attraction. It's a living, functioning piece of Hollywood history. This creates what might be called the Hollywood paradox. The same thing that makes Universal special also limits what it can become. You can't tear down sound stages to build new attractions. You can't expand into land that's actively being used for production. You can't create massive, sprawling parks when you're landlocked by hills, freeways, and the studio itself. Super Nintendo World was squeezed into a corner of the park. Fast and Furious is being built on the hillside because there's literally nowhere else to put it. The park is trapped. Geographically, economically, strategically. Disney has room to grow. Epic Universe was built on undeveloped land. Universal Orlando has space for future expansion. Universal Studios Hollywood has a freeway to the north, a mountain to the south, a city to the east, and a working studio everywhere else. How do you compete with parks that can build bigger when you can barely build at all? Stand at the exit of Universal Studios Hollywood as the sun sets over the San Fernando Valley. Watch the families leaving. Some are happy. Some are exhausted. Some are counting the money they spent and wondering if it was worth it. Behind them, the spinning globe keeps turning. The same globe that's been turning since the 1960s. The same promise of Hollywood magic that Carl Lammle first offered for 25 cents. But something has changed. In 2025, Universal Studios Hollywood is a theme park caught between what it was and what it needs to become. The studio tour celebrated its 60th anniversary. More than 200 million guests have experienced it, but attendance is falling. Super Nintendo World was supposed to be the future, but the bounce lasted 1 year. The wildfires reminded everyone how vulnerable this place really is. The competition is winning, decisively, and the only hope is a roller coaster theme to a 20-year-old franchise that already failed once. Universal Studios Hollywood isn't dying. Not yet. The park still welcomes nearly 9 million visitors per year. It still generates billions in revenue, but it is diminishing. Slowly. Steadily. 1 million visitors at a time. The spinning globe keeps turning, but fewer and fewer people are stopping to watch. And somewhere in the empty seats of the studio tour tram, in the quiet corners of Super Nintendo World, the magic is waiting to see if anyone will bring it back, or if the credits have already started to roll.